The planning and building of Delta City is a storyline that progresses through all three RoboCop films. But it wasn't until the TV series that the old man's dream finally became a reality.
Imagine an end to crime, an end to poverty. Imagine 2 million good jobs waiting to be filled. Sounds like a dream, doesn't it? Well, sometimes dreams come true. Delta City, for our children.
I've had this dream for more than a decade now. A dream which I've invited you all to share with me. In 6 months, we begin construction of Delta City.
Apparently, this decade-long dream seems to be going as planned as the movie progresses. Several months pass, and the next status update we get about Delta City is from Dick Jones.
Suit yourself, Clarence. But Delta City begins construction in 2 months. That's 2 million workers living in trailers. That means drugs, gambling, prostitution. Virgin territory for the man who knows how to open up new markets.
Now, that may sound promising, but with the next movie comes new obstacles, and as the old man addresses the media in the Civic Center, we learn that construction has now been postponed.
OCP bring industry back to Detroit.
Sir, can a corporation...
Does OCP own the city? You're gonna hold elections?
Sometimes we just have to start over, from scratch, to make things right. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to build a brand new city where Detroit now stands. An example to the world.
Apparently, the second movie takes place a year or so after the original, and Delta City is still little more than a blueprint. The rogue cyborg RoboCop 2, or RoboCane, is built to clean up the city's crime for construction. On top of this, in order to greenlight the project, OCP still needs to foreclose on their loan to the city, seizing all of its assets in the process.
In the event of default, OCP shall have the uncontested right of foreclosure on all city assets.
So you're saying we missed one payment and you can foreclose?
We can and we will. We're taking Detroit private.
Now with the third movie, it's a little harder to tell how much time has passed. But unlike the first two films, where OCP is a dominant corporate superpower, we get an OCP that's in serious trouble this time.
Gentlemen, you are now looking at a company in transition.
With being bought out by Kanemitsu, a new CEO appointed, and Johnson made vice president, however, we can assume that quite a bit of time has passed. And yet, Delta City is still not ready. As time is running out for OCP, they take drastic measures and employ the rehabs to force people out of their homes in order for demolition to begin.
You've got 4 days, McDaniels. The Cadillac Heights isn't cleared for demolition by Friday midnight. Our loans will be called in. OCP will be ruined.
As the movie ends, so does the dream of Delta City. In the TV series, however, we find a fully finished city. The 1994 TV series shows us an alternate look at RoboCop and supposedly takes place 4 or 5 years after the first movie.
Good news for Delta City today. Omni Consumer Products announced plans to use cutting-edge technology in a far-reaching project that will automate Delta City's utilities and public transportation infrastructure.
I have great hopes for Metronet, a supercomputer that will power this city into a future that not only has a silver lining, but will work better and cost less.
This finished future city, however, is apparently a separate entity from old Detroit that still remains. These outlying slums are ill-kept, run down, and plagued with crime.
Our top story tonight, power rationing cripples old Detroit for the 4th straight week. Looters and stoppers rampage in the streets. OCP spokesperson Aubrey Fox had this to say.
Due to unforeseen shortfalls, power rationing is unavoidable.
In the episode Officer Missing, they introduced the idea that Delta City consumes so much power that at night, old Detroit must be powered down in order to conserve resources.
2, 1, good night.
The miniseries RoboCop Prime Directives, taking place 10 years after the original film, also has a fully completed Delta City. It also employs a similar idea of having old Detroit remain as a slum area.
OCP would like the population to believe that it's a warm and good place to live, but it's clean, it's pristine. The colors do lean more towards building materials like steel and glass and aluminum. And then on the other hand, there's Detroit City, which is the world of, say, the Japanese comic book, with the city is run down, it's decaying.
Stand by to the floor. We are now entering Old Detroit. Use extreme, I repeat, extreme caution. Do not touch anything. Do not drink anything. Do not eat anything. This town is a disease and we are the cure.
But what about the old man himself? Very little is known about the head of Omni Consumer Products, but he appears in most versions of RoboCop in some form or another.
It was a virtual free-for-all today at the Metro South Shopping Center when a gang known as the Vandals went on a wild rampage. Even RoboCop proved ineffective against these modern-day barbarians.
You see, this proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that RoboCop is an utter failure. OCP should put a stop to Dr. Tyler's wasteful project at once.
You may have a point there, Dr. McNamara. Since OCP runs the police force, the possibility of lawsuits resulting from this cancerous crime wave could cost the company millions.
Then you'll reconsider the RoboCop project, sir?
More than that, Doctor. If necessary, I would advise Tyler to pull the plug on RoboCop by the end of the day.
As you know, OCP is hosting the upcoming Shareware Expo. And we never share anything, but it's a chance to sniff out the competition.
One thing all the versions of RoboCop have in common is the chairman's affinity for greed. The decisions and choices he makes are all for the benefit of the company, no matter what the cost. In the series, he is portrayed as somewhat of a naive man with a good heart. The old man, renamed for the series as the chairman, never commits any crimes himself. Instead, it is always lower-ranking OCP employees that do the dirty work for him, seemingly without his knowledge.
It may interest you to know I'm shutting down the WebCare pilot program. I had no idea what was going on until our friend Diana enlightened me. I don't understand how well-bred, educated employees like Lewis and Martin could become so misguided. I must have a talk with personnel. But for now, I have to mend some fences and eat a little crow.
It's not easy being human.
His connection with RoboCop is also explored more in the series, showing a man that knows about Murphy's fate and seemingly cares more about the man under the metal.
Murphy, I approved your design. A shutdown here, out of a controlled environment. Your brain boosts, the implants that control bionic function might return to normal. But Murphy, the man, may be erased. All of him. Memories. You may not even know your own name. Or that you ever had one.
To be human is to risk.
Delta City, the safest place on Earth.
Omni Consumer Products is the vanguard of this new age of prosperity.
From the shoes on your feet,
to the car in your garage,
to the home you live in,
to the food on your table.
If you've got it, it's from OCP.
This company is on the verge of complete financial collapse. The privatization of Delta City is more than $700 billion over budget, which makes us the sole owner of the single largest money pit in history.
In the TV series Prime Directives, the CEO is now a woman, but her character traits are much the same as her male counterpart. While she only appears in the first 2 episodes of the 4-part series, the full focus on the company is apparent, as she has lost control over an OCP that is facing heavy financial losses.
Miss Cable, you have my full authority to implement any plan that will get RoboCop off the street. Yes, ma'am.
This is media break. You give us 3 minutes, and we'll give you the world.
Good evening. I'm Casey Wong. Our top story tonight. Motor City goes Japanese as the Omni Consumer Products Corporation ended months of speculation today by announcing its takeover by the multinational Kanamitsu Corporation.
In the third movie, the old man is mysteriously absent, and we never get an explanation of what happened to him. He's replaced by someone referred to as the CEO, a much younger man who is being pushed around and manipulated by others, played out in the movie as more of a comic relief.
Get the hell out of here, all of you! Will you take your time?
So what happened to the old man? He is mentioned in RoboCop 3 and proudly spoken of.
Our esteemed former chairman had a dream. He called it Delta City.
But where was he? Did he die? Was he prosecuted? One could assume that the RoboCane incident led to his downfall and that he couldn't get away with it after all. The payments to the victims' families and all the legal repercussions led to the demise of OCP and the state it was in RoboCop 3.
This could look bad for OCP, Johnson. Scramble the best fin team we have.
But that doesn't really add up. First of all, the CEO spoke proudly of the old man. Esteemed means having an illustrious reputation and being respected. Surely he wouldn't be either if they spoke of a corrupt, convicted criminal.
It's the fall of Rome around here. It's Darwin time, you know what I'm saying? Survival of the least expendable.
Remember the old man, Jeff. Everyone's expendable.
While the actor portraying the old man in the first 2 movies, Dan O'Herlihy, could not reprise his role due to scheduling conflicts, the explanation in the actual movie is less than clear. However, if we examine the second revision of the RoboCop 3 script, there are some interesting answers to be found. While one might have expected serious rewrites being required to replace the old man with the CEO, the changes are surprisingly not that major at all. The lines of dialogue are more or less identical, and apart from the speech at the beginning of the movie, the CEO is the old man in everything but name. As such, the fate of the CEO was indeed intended for the old man.
What do you say?
Said you're fired.
That said, with Dan O'Herlihy avoiding the third movie, his character quite fittingly escaped his fate, and the dream and legacy is bound to live on in some form or another, much like Omni Consumer Products.
Tough times at OCP, Bo.
They'll bounce back, Rocky. We can all be sure of that.
You said it.